Lori here. I'm here today to do my December reading wrap up. I'm filming this a day early, and I am doing a readathon tomorrow. Well, tonight actually is going to go tomorrow until the new year, so it's possible I'm probably going to finish at least one more book, definitely. But I wanted to do this video now just so I could get all the books I have read so far. So I actually had a rather good reading month. I read very large books this month, so my stats are a little bit on the smaller side. Well, to me, they're on the smaller side. But I was able to finish reading 8 books and listening to 1 book, which actually was pretty good stats. And I read a lot of holiday themed reads this month, which I really like, and I'm definitely going to try to do that next year. But yeah, I also participated in a readathon. I had a week off from school, which was really nice. Yeah, so let's get into what I finished reading. At the start of the month, I did the 'Tis the Season-a-thon with Super Space Chick and all of those ladies. And before that, I wound up finishing the book Comics Will Break Your Heart by Faith Erin Hicks. I actually thought this book was so cute. It does not come out until February, so I read it a little bit on the early side. But it's basically like a Romeo and Juliet retelling with like a fandom-y twist, which I actually really liked. It's about this girl named Miriam, and her grandfather co-ran or co-created the most popular superheroes of their time, but he also sold his rights. So basically, the family doesn't see any of that money. But when the son of the other owner comes to town, they wind up meeting and they wind up, crossing paths, and a Romeo and Juliet inspired story definitely commences. I actually really liked it. I thought it was like such a fun read, like not as fandom-y as Geekerella, but so fun. I think I wound up giving it like 4 stars. I thought it was so fun, and I highly recommend that if you like Geekerella or any other fandom novels that you check this out. It comes out in February, but I thought it was a great and easy read, and it was probably one of my shorter reads of the month. The book that I read next kicked off the 'Tis the Season-a-thon, and that was The Christmas Cake Murder by Joanne Fuqua. This genre of books is called like cozy mysteries, and they normally have like really like sweet murder mysteries, I would say. Like you rarely ever see any blood, but they're kind of like a little bit predictable. This is the 24th book in this series. So all the cases are individual, but there is like a through line with it. The one thing I did like about this book is it went back in time. So it went back in time before the first book, which I thought was a really interesting way to conduct it. It was actually really interesting as well because the book that we left off on was like a huge cliffhanger in the current timeline. So I'm really excited for that book. That book comes out in February, so I'm really excited to see like what actually happens next. But I like seeing like the past versions of these characters and like where they all were and how this stuff led to the events of the future stuff. Just thought it was a really fun read, and the mystery it's called The Christmas Cake Murder, but it was more like like a mystery, I would say, which I thought was really interesting, and I wound up giving it like 3.5 stars. Definitely I like this story a little bit better than the previous ones that I've been reading recently, but it was a really nice Christmas book that like just put me in the mood. Definitely wasn't my favorite Christmas book I read this month, but it was pretty decent, so 3.5 stars. If you're looking for definitely a long series and the mysteries are not as strong as they could be, I would recommend it, but these books have like such a nice like they're set in like a Minnesota town, and she runs a bakery. So definitely like a cozy mystery, but overall, I do like the series. So that's my thought on The Christmas Cake Murder by Joanne Fuqua. The next book that I wound up finishing was Snow and Love, a collection of short stories by Casey West, Melissa De La Cruz, Amy Friedman, and Nick Stone. This read was super short. I think it was just over like I think it was like just like 250. The stories were really short, and most of them were okay. I think definitely the highlight story for me was definitely Casey West, Snow and Mistletoe, or Snow and Mistletoe, I think it was. And I really like that story, and I did like Amy Friedman's. Melissa De La Cruz I thought was super predictable, and I thought the writing was a little bit choppy at points. but it was like super predictable. Like you knew what it was going to be the minute like they started with the story, so there really wasn't any like tension in that story. The last one I also did like, and that had some LGBTQ elements. I would definitely say it was like a fun read, and it definitely put me in the mood. It wasn't as, you know, like it wasn't, the stories weren't as engaging as like the Stephanie Perkins anthology that I read a couple of years ago. The stories just weren't that captivating other than Casey West's story. But if you're looking for kind of like a shorter read, or if you want to read it when it's like a snowy day, maybe, I don't know. I liked it. I didn't love it. So I gave the whole anthology on all like a 3 stars. The only story that broke that was the Snow and Mistletoe one by Casey West. So that's my thoughts on Snow and Love by those 4 authors. The book that I read to complete my Tis the Season-a-thon was Carols in Chaos by Cynthia Ansley, and I haven't read anything by her in the past, but this was a Christmas-themed novel about a maid and a butler who wind up having an unexpected with Christmas-time romance. I thought it was okay. I thought the pacing in this was like a little bit wonky at points, and I thought that like I really normally do like historical fiction stuff. I like books set with like a purpose, but I thought the pacing of it was like a little bit weird at points. It wasn't my favorite. I think I gave it like 3 stars. I had a hard time connecting to the characters, and I thought the pacing in this book was a little bit off. There was a mystery in it, and I think towards the end of it, I got really engaged in the mystery, but I wish the mystery had appeared a little bit sooner in it. But yeah, so that's my overall thoughts. I thought it was okay. I probably won't ever read it again, but I am curious to read her other ones, which seem a little bit more mystery focused. I felt like it was trying to push a mystery into the book when I don't really think it needed it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this book. I gave it like 3 stars. It was definitely probably my least favorite read of the readathon, but other than that, I thought it was a cute read that I probably could have read it in a day if I was a little bit more focused on it. The next book I read that immediately after the Tis the Season-a-thon was Nevermore: The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I have heard so many good things about this book from Super Space Chick, from Alexa Love Books, from my friend Sarah. I have heard so many good things about this book. And I actually really liked it. I thought it was the perfect mix between like Harry Potter and specifically Harry Potter book 4. Like I thought it was like a really nice middle grade story packed with adventure, magic, intrigue, you know, a lot of fun stuff. Especially about this girl named Morgan Crow who is labeled as a cursed child, which means bad luck travels her everywhere, and they are set to die on their birthday. On I think it's their 11th birthday, I think. So that day comes and goes, and other than being murdered, she is transported by this man Juniper to the land of Nevermore, where she gets inducted. She's going to try to be in a competition to be inducted into the society. So there are like 4 trials that you have to go to, and that's how basically the book is structured. They're leading up to a trial, so it's over the course of like a year, and I just thought it was so interesting. The mystery underneath was so compelling and so fascinating. I like the characters that we met. I just thought it was so interesting and such a fun and charming world, and there was like a bunch of like mysteries that developed as well. I just thought it was so cute. I really love Morgan Crow, and I really cannot wait to read Wondersmith hopefully soon in 2019. But yeah, I really liked it. It was so whimsy and so magical, and I just needed that in my life. And I've always been hunting for something that gives me the same feelings as Harry Potter, and it definitely brought me pretty freaking close to that. So I really did like that. I gave it like 4.5 stars. I thought the ending was a little bit rushed at points, but other than that, I thought the pacing of the book was very well structured, and I thought that like was very easy to follow. Like, you know, I didn't feel like there was any slowness in the book. The end, I wish she would have took a little bit more time to explain, but that means I just need to read Wondersmith in like a quicker fashion. That's my thoughts on The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. The next book that I wound up reading was one I was like really nervous about, and I'm happy to say that my nerves were very, very like not needed, but it was Slayer by Kiersten White. I am like a huge Buffy fan. Like, I love that show so much. It's definitely one of my top 10 classic shows that I adore. I love the characters. I'm super protective of those characters. I just finished an Angel and Buffy rewatch, so to go back to this world in a novelization, I was a little bit scared. Normally, the novelizations are not written by YA authors, so I was a little bit worried about it. And this set's basically after the Buffy stuff, so you have a whole new Slayer, a whole new world, and I was scared. But I am happy to report that I really like this book. I thought it was really well done. You basically follow this girl named Nina and her twin sister Artemis, and this is set after Buffy, after the events of season 7. So you definitely need to watch up until season 7 and maybe even read like the comics, because I didn't read the comics. Something happens at the start of this book that Buffy does that causes no more Slayers to be created. And Nina has her twin sister, and everyone always thinks that Artemis is going to be a Watcher, and they're at the Watcher school. But when all of a sudden Nina becomes the last Slayer, everyone is caught super off guard. And people don't think she could do it. And you see a development of such a unique type of Slayer that I really liked. I love Nina's journey. I love her relationship with her sister, her parents. I love the development of the Scooby Gang. I love the vampires that we met. But the best thing about this book was the setting. How this book was set in the Watcher school. She has her own Watcher. I just thought it was like great. I was so hooked from page 1 in this book. I loved it. I thought the ending was like a little bit choppy and probably could have slowed down a little bit. But other than that, really liked this book. I was so impressed by it. This is the first book by Kiersten White that I read and like really enjoyed. I read one other book by her that I thought was okay. It again had like a sister vibe. But this book was super good. I really need book 2, so book 2 better be coming out. But I will definitely be buying a finished hardback of this as well from Barnes & Noble specifically, because they have a short story featuring Faith, and you do see subtle cameos from the Buffy characters, like just two characters in particular. But overall, I thought this book was so good. If you're a Buffy fan and you have watched all 7 seasons and have been probably, I don't know how this goes into the comics. If you have read the comics and you have read this, let me know if the people need to read the comics, because I have not read the comics and I was pretty much able to follow it. But other than that, and I gave this book like 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. So Buffy fans, make sure you go get this when it comes out in January. My friend Jen gave me a gift of the Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand for Christmas, and I really wanted to read this during Christmas, so I wound up reading it over the days of New Year's, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day. So it's basically a Christmas carol retelling, and it basically follows this girl named Holly Chase, who was there's a company in New York that's basically the Scrooge Project, that basically chooses one person every day that kind of is not living their best life, and tries to have the Ebenezer Scrooge Project happen to them. So Holly was chosen to have this happen to her 5 years ago. She did not see the error in her ways, and she died, sadly. So now she was recruited to be the ghost of Christmas Present, and this new year starts, and they find a new Scrooge that is a very handsome 17-year-old boy. And let me just tell you, hilarity, drama, and chaos ensue. But this book was like probably one of my favorite Christmas reads of the year. I talk about this a lot in my reading vlog, which will probably be posted before this video goes up. But oh my god, I just thought it was such a fun. We had a perfect mix between Christmas, a workplace comedy, and like, you know, becoming a better person. Holly, I normally, and you guys will know this if you guys watched a lot of my videos over the past couple of years, I have really, really oftentimes struggle with unlikable narrators or characters, because I find very, very hard to connect to them. But I actually really did like Holly. I thought that she grew on me as the book went on, and I just was really fascinated. The last like 50 pages of this book like blew my mind, and I was like, oh my god, I did not see that whatever happened coming. I just thought it was so well done. Definitely was my favorite holiday read of the year. I gave this book like 4.5 stars. I thought it was just so well done. Definitely my favorite holiday read, and it was just a really fun read. I was so happy that I wound up finishing it right around Christmas. This is a perfect Christmas Eve read. But yeah, that's my thoughts on The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. that I have physically reading in the month of December as of now is Prince in Disguise by Stephanie Kate Strom. This was one of the books from the Time Warp YA book club that I run, and they chose a holiday-themed read, and this is the one that they chose. And I will admit, the first 200 pages of this book was just okay. I probably at that point would have probably only given it like 3 stars. It basically follows this girl named Dusty, and she is the younger sister of a beauty queen, and she also, the year before, wound up being on a reality television show where she wound up finding a prince. And the show is called The Prince in Disguise. And this book is the lead up into her sister's wedding. She has to go to Scotland. And it was the first half did not impress me that much. I read it, I was engaged. I was like, it was like LA Candy meets, it was just like a reality TV show. It was fun. I like the travel elements. I thought it was a really interesting story. But the last, like, 50 pages really made me bump this book up to a 4-star. I really like the end. And I would even reread this book again to know, like, what I know at the end, to know what happened. Like, I would just reread it. So this is it. I might actually try getting this as, like, an audiobook maybe next year. But I really liked it. So I recently added all of this author's backlist to my TBR list. I liked it. And if you go check out my reading vlog, I talk a lot more about this I talk a lot more about this book in that video. But it was fun. I definitely say you have to give yourself at least 200 pages to become invested in it. But I really did like the setting. I like the characters. I like the relationships. It just was a little bit slow. I felt like the book didn't have a whole lot of tension compelling me to read, and the mystery really blew my mind. So I think there could have been a couple of more little like clues throughout the book to lead you up to the mystery so you weren't totally blindsided. But other than that, I did grow to like this book, and I grew to like the characters a lot. So that's my thoughts on The Prince in Disguise by Stephanie Kate Strom. The last audiobook that I finished listening to at the time of this recording is The Assassin Blades by Sarah J. Maas. My book club, the Time Warp YA book club, the link will be in the description box, is about to venture on to the Thorn of Glass reread, and this month we read the novellas, The Assassin Blades. And I read this about in 2015, so I read it like a while ago, but I still really enjoyed it. I wound up giving it like 4.5, 5 stars. I thought it was a very solid collection of short stories, and I really felt like it was one story. So I felt like even though it says like they're short stories, you really should read them in order and as a full story, because I think that it does tell a continual narrative. I definitely do recommend that you read it before you read Thorn of Glass, because I think this book series gives you so much back history. And when I read it, I think I read it after book 2, which I would not recommend. My favorite stories are definitely The Assassin and the Healer, The Assassin and the Empire, and The Assassin and the Underworld. Those are like my 3 favorites. My favorite one is definitely The Assassin and the Healer. But I really liked it. I loved how she crafted this world and crafted this character. You saw so much of Selena in these books, and you see like where she leads up, and then to know what comes next, or I know at least what I know because I read up to book 3 in that series. I'm just really excited to dive back into this world with those characters. But yeah, so we will be reading Thorn of Glass next month. I'm super excited about it, and I'm going to continue on my listening journey with that as well. Now let's get into what I'm currently reading. I'm currently reading The Sorcerer's Heir by Cinda Williams Chimas. The book's over there, about 250 pages into this book. My goal at the end of this year was to finish the next 2 books I'm going to talk about. So my goal is to finish these before January 1st. I'm liking this book. It's very, very fast-paced. It's the last book in a series. I can't say much about it, but it's basically about this paranormal world where you have a wearstone in your chest, and your wearstone tells you what type of magical powers you have. The first book was the Warrior Heir. We dealt with Jack, who's a warrior, but he has a wizard stone. You have Steph, who has a wizard stone. Then you had Jason. And now you have these 2 new characters who deal with a toxic poison that affects their wearstones. Enchanted Heir ended with a really big murder mystery. And this is the after effects of not only wrapping up that story, but also wrapping up the entire series. I'm so hoping I can at least make it so much farther in this book, or at least finish it by 2019. And the last book that I'm in the middle of reading or listening to is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I literally have 3 chapters left. I will finish it this year. And I will do like I'll chat about it in my probably in my reading blog, because I'm probably gonna start a new reading blog for that, for my readathon, which I'm gonna start tonight at 6 o'clock. When you see this, I will actually be doing my readathon, so keep a nose out. If you want to go check that out, go check my Time Warp YA book club. There should be an event page on there. But I'm just doing a readathon until New Year's Eve, or until the new year. So that should be super exciting. But yeah, those are all the books that I finished reading in December 2019. I'm super excited to see what 2019 or 2018. I'm super excited to see what 2019 reads. I have so many books planned. I hope you guys are sticking around. For the new followers that I got, thank you so much for helping me reach 230 subscribers. I think I'm 232. I do have a giveaway planned. I'm just trying to figure out what it is and how I'm going to manage all that. So keep a nose out on this channel. It will be occurring. I just don't know when I'm going to post it. But thank you so much for following me. If I don't talk to you guys before the new year, I hope you guys have a great new year. And hopefully we get some reading done before the new year and you guys beat your Goodreads goals. I'll talk to you guys later for another video. Bye.